Hey there, my yogi friend. Thank you so much for joining me here on my YouTube channel. This is going to be a pre-hiking stretch. So if you're ready to hit the mountains, this is the class for you. I'm going to recommend that you have at least one block, maybe a strap and a blanket. Of course, if you don't have these props, you can make do with whatever you have around you that you can replace this with. So we're going to start off with a couple of yin yoga stretches to open up the joints, and then we'll go into a little bit more mobility and dynamic yoga stretching. So for our first pose, we're going to start off in toe squat to get the feet nice and open, get them ready to get those hiking shoes on. So you're going to come down into a kneeling position and come into a seat on top of your heels for a moment so you can bring your knees together. Take your hands forward, untuck your toes, spread out all your toes, and then come into a seat on top of your heels. And if this feels really intense, you can always bring your hands forward, bring them to the floor or a pair of blocks or just the one block right here in front of you, or even just keep them on your thighs. But you're going to want to keep your spine nice and lengthened. So even if you come forward, try and keep the spine nice and upright. And then you can adjust the intensity like that. So with these yin yoga stretches, we want to go for something around 40 to 60% in terms of the intensity that you feel. So like I said, if you're screaming here, make any adjustments that you need to. Drop your shoulders down your back and lengthen up through the crown of your head. And take a deep breath in to begin. And a nice long exhale out. Let your body soften, melting into this shape with no muscular effort. And just beginning to open up the bottom of the feet, open up the toes. We won't be in this pose for too long since it can be quite intense, but if you do need to get out of it and come back in, you're more than welcome to. In just about a minute and a half. Let your breathing be smooth and natural. And just take this moment to notice how your body feels. And slowly begin to come out of this shape. Take your hands forward if they're not already there. Untuck your toes. Come into a brief seat on top of your heels. And from here, we're going to come right into our next posture. We'll take an ankle stretch. This one can also be quite intense, so I'm going to offer a couple of adjustments here. So take your hands down by your side. Lift your knees up any amount off of the ground. And this might not be a lot, especially if your ankles are pretty tight. If this does feel too intense, you can always slide that blanket right underneath your knees to help support you. You can also bring your hands down to a pair of blocks. And if you're already a little bit more open here, you might take your hands to your thighs or even catch your knees. And once again, keep your spine upright, shoulders drop down your back. Come back to a smooth, natural breath. In and out of your nose. And let your body soften. Once again, with these yin postures, we're really trying to soften and not really use any muscular effort so that we can feel that benefit in the joints, in the connective tissues, and the fascia. And again, if you need to come out of this pose at any moment, you're more than welcome to, and just make your way back in when you're ready. Over time, you can work up to longer holds in these yin poses. And gently release your knees back down, remove your blanket if you were using one. Go ahead and untuck your toes for a moment, maybe pressing back towards your heels, just getting a little counter stretch there. And then whenever you're ready, we're going to come into our squat pose. So for this pose, you're going to want to take your feet out about as wide as the mat, heels in, toes pointing out about 45 degrees. Try and get your knees pointing towards your toes. And then bring your hands together in front of your heart, taking your elbows to the inside of your knees. If you have your heels lifting off of the mat, you can always roll up your blanket and slide that right underneath. And if this simply feels too intense, you can sit up on top of a block, so that'll help you raise your hips a little bit more. So make any adjustment you need to get comfortable here. And once again, allow the body to soften. Soften into your breath. This is another great pose to open up through the ankles and strengthen the ankles, which is going to be very useful for our hike. Let your hips sink down. It's also a great way to open the lower back. Release any tension. If you're beginning to feel the intensity rise, see if you can diffuse a little bit of that sensation by coming back to your breath, allowing your breath to flow in and out of your nose. Let it travel into your body. And slowly release your hands down in front of you. On your inhale, begin to straighten your legs, sending your hips up towards the ceiling. Release your shoulders and your neck. We're going to begin to move a little bit more dynamically here, just beginning to open up the knee joints and a little bit more into the hips. On your next exhale, come back into a seat, and then begin to move in between this squat pose and this sort of wide-legged forward fold, bending and straightening your legs a couple times. Inhale as you come up, and exhale as you sit back down. Just beginning to connect the breath to your movement. And just a few more times here. And we'll finish off back in that squat pose just for a brief moment. Take your hips back down. And then bring your hands behind you. Come into a seat. Keep your feet out nice and wide and just begin to windshield wiper your legs from side to side for a few breaths. And either stay here with your hands behind you or bring your spine upright. Stack one hand on top of the other and then begin to add a little twist. So the next time you take your knees over to the left, continue twisting in that direction and then take it to the other side. Let your knees lead and then take it up into your spine. And the next time you have your knees over to the left, take your right hand to your left knee, left hand behind you, finding a little bit of a twist. Press your right knee down into the floor. Keep your chest lifted. And then either stay here or begin to walk your hands out in front of you, keeping that twist. Come onto your fingertips. Hands can be a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. Bend your elbows. Take your forehead down towards the mat. Press down. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, bend your elbows. Lower your forehead down. Continue here for a few more breaths. Just beginning to get into the shoulders a little bit. So this can feel nice, especially if you're going to be carrying a backpack with you on your hike. And then slowly press yourself back up into an upright spine. Twist back towards the top of your mat. Let your knees fall over to the right, and we'll take that same thing over to this side. Start off with your left hand on your right knee, right hand behind you. Press your left knee down into the mat. Keep your chest lifted. Either stay here or begin to walk your hands forward. Once again, taking your hands out a little wider than shoulder width apart. Coming onto your fingertips, bend your elbows as you lower your forehead down. Inhale to press back up. And continue here for a few more breaths at your own pace. And slowly press yourself back up into an upright position. Twist back towards center. Crossing your legs, bring your hands forward and press up into a downward facing dog. And taking a few breaths here in your down dog, maybe bending into one knee and then the other. Maybe pausing to stretch in areas that feel particularly tight. And slowly come to stillness in your down dog, drawing your chest towards your thighs. Press your heels back, sits bones up towards the ceiling. On your next inhale, lift your heels, begin to bend your knees, take them down towards the mat, letting them hover a few inches above the mat. Spread out your toes, just continuing to get a little bit of a stretch here through the feet. And then send your hips back up, straightening your legs, press your heels back. We'll do that a few more times. Inhale, and drop the knees down, and exhale up. You might even begin to take this into a little bit of a circular motion here. Taking the hips a little bit forward and a little bit back. Get the breath flowing. And then slowly make your way back up into your neutral down dog. From here, lower your knees down into your tabletop position. Coming into puppy pose, walk your hands forward. Lower your chest and forehead down to the mat. Keep your hips above your knees. And let's make this a dynamic puppy pose. Thumbs point up, coming onto the outer edges of your hands, moving through a few cat-cow-like motions. On your inhale, begin to round your back. Exhale, melt your heart down towards your mat. And continue here for a few more breaths at your own pace. And slowly come to stillness. Let your chest melt down. Come back onto the palms. Take another 2 breaths here. When you're ready, lift your chest. Walk your hands in slightly, keeping them slightly in front of your shoulders. Shift forward, so now you have your shoulders over your hands. Lift your knees off the mat, coming into your plank pose. Firm up your core. Press your heels back. Take a breath in. With your exhale, send your hips up, downward dog. We'll move a few times in between down dog and plank. On your inhale, send your weight forward, coming into your plank. Strong core. Exhale, take it up and back. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, take it up and back. Inhale, shift forward. This time we'll hold plank a little bit longer. Getting the core nice and fired up. Pull your belly button in, squeeze your glutes. And with your exhale, lower your knees, lower your chest and chin. Keep your elbows in close, slide in between your arms. Inhale, come up into your cobra pose. Shoulders down away from your ears. Exhale, press back, downward facing dog. Come back to your breath. From here, we're going to come into a crescent lunge, but if you know that you have sensitive knees, you can place a blanket down underneath. And just prepare that. Come back into your down dog. Take a breath in. Lower your knees down to the mat, coming into your tabletop position, and step your right foot through. Bring your hands to your front thigh. Press your hips forward and down. Drop your shoulders down your back. Take a breath in. Exhale, send your hips back, straightening your front leg. And inhale, come forward. And continue here for a few more breaths. Inhaling as you come forward, exhaling as you take it back. Just noticing the sensation in the left hip flexor. And then slowly bring the bend back into your front knee. Walk your foot in a little bit closer so that you can have a nice 90-degree angle here. Keep your hands on your front thigh. Draw your belly button in. Begin to round your back. So getting a little bit deeper into that psoas muscle right here on the inside of the left thigh. On your inhale, bring your spine into a neutral position. Take your gaze up. Exhale, draw your belly button in. Inhale, bring your spine back into neutral. Take your gaze up. Last time, exhale. Inhale, come back into neutral position. Press your hands down firmly into your front thigh. Lift your back knee off the mat, sending that heel back. Inhale, take your arms up, high lunge. Beginning to activate that back quad. Activate through the glutes, the outer right hip. Take another breath in. Exhale, release your hands down in front. Lift your chest on your inhale. Exhale, send your hips back. Straighten your front leg, lengthen your spine. Maybe you come onto your right heel here, flexing your toes towards your face. Inhale, bring the bend back into your front knee. Drop your back knee down. Send your hips back for your half split, straightening your front leg once again. Flexing your front toes towards your face. Ground down through your right heel. Press into your left hand. Inhale, twist to your right. Reach your right arm up. Getting a little stretch through the IT band on the right side. With your exhale, release your right hand down, this time to the inside of your front foot, keeping that front leg straight. You might begin to take a few ankle circles here, or even just taking the leg out and in, or a combination of all of those. Continue to breathe into it. Keeping your shoulders relaxed. And then slowly come to stillness. Bring the bend back into your front knee. Walk your foot out towards the edge of your mat, coming into lizard lunge. Come down onto your hands. And then option to open that right foot out about 45 degrees, coming onto the outer edge of your foot. Flex your toes to protect your knee. And either stay here or take your right hand to your right thigh and find a little twist. Gaze can go towards your right shoulder. If you're in the twist, slowly release your right hand back down. Lower the sole of your foot back down. Untuck your toes and press back into your downward facing dog. Lower your knees back down. Crescent lunge. Step your left foot through this time. Bring your hands to your front thigh. Press down to lift yourself up. Take your shoulders down your back. Ground down through your left heel. Straighten your front leg. And inhale, send your hips forward and down, bending into that front knee. And continue here for a few more breaths. And then slowly bring the bend back into your front knee. You can walk that foot in a little bit closer to you so you're not in your deepest stretch, finding a 90-degree angle through that foot. Bring your hands to your front thigh. Draw your belly button in. Begin to round your back. Noticing that sensation through the inner right thigh, through that hip flexor. And inhale, bring your spine to neutral. Take your gaze up. Exhale, round, draw the belly button in. Inhale. Last time, exhale. Inhale, come back to neutral. Press into your front thigh, lift your back knee off the mat. Inhale, take your arms up, shoulders down your back. Nice and active through that right quad. Press your heel back. Exhale, release your hands down in front, runner's lunge. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, take your hips back. Press your right heel back. Straighten through your front leg, lengthen your spine. Maybe you come onto your left heel, flexing your toes towards your face. Inhale, bring the bend back into your front knee. Drop your back knee down to the mat. Send your hips back for your half splits, straightening your front leg. Press into your right hand. Inhale, twist to your left. Reach your left arm up. Ground down through your left heel. Exhale, release your left hand down to the inside of your front foot and begin to find those ankle circles or just opening your leg out and in. And slowly come to stillness. Bring the bend back into your front knee. Lizard lunge. Walk your hands forward. Toe heel your left foot to the edge of your mat. Either stay here or open your toes out about 45 degrees. Option to come into the outer edge of that foot. And maybe take your left hand to your thigh, finding a gentle twist. If you're in the twist, slowly release your left hand down, come back onto the sole of your foot, and press back into your downward facing dog. You can take your blanket off to the side if you were using one. And take 2 breaths here in your down dog. Noticing what's shifted. And on your next inhale, walk your feet towards your hands, coming into a forward fold. Feet can be hips width apart. Bend your knees as much as you need. Inhale into a halfway lift. Hands to your shins, nice long spine. Exhale, fold forward. Root down, inhale, rise up to standing. Reach your arms above you. And then grab onto your left wrist with your right hand. Stretch that arm up. Exhale as you side bend to your right. Inhale, come up through center, swap out your hands, left hand to right wrist. Exhale, side bend to your left. Inhale, come back up through center. Exhale, soften your knees, dive forward. Inhale into your halfway lift, hands to your shins or in front of you. Exhale, plant your hands, step back into a plank. Draw your belly button in, curl your tailbone under. Exhale, lower your knees, lower your chest and chin, keep your elbows in close. Inhale as you slide in between your arms, coming onto your belly and pressing up through your cobra pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take your hips up. On your next inhale, take your right leg up behind you, three-legged dog. Exhale, open your hip, bend your knee. Keep both shoulders pointing forward. Take another breath in. Exhale, lizard lunge. Step that right foot to the outside of your right hand. Keep your back knee lifted. Inhale, easy twist. Reach your right arm up. Exhale, release your right hand down. This time drop your back knee down, untuck your toes. And then once again, you might open that knee out to the side, find your twist, bringing your right hand to your thigh. If you're in the twist, slowly release your right hand back down, and we'll slide that front leg into pigeon pose. If you know pigeon pose doesn't work for you, you can come into figure four on your back. If you're coming into pigeon, take your right knee behind your right wrist. Come onto your fingers to begin, lifting your chest. If you need to support your right hip, if it's floating off the mat, you can slide that block right underneath. Take a breath in. Exhale, fold forward. You can come onto your forearms or make a little pillow with your hands. Or extend your arms out in front of you. And soften your shoulders. Soften your breath. Let it be natural and smooth. Slowly begin to press yourself back up if you're in pigeon. Come back onto your fingertips. And from here, bend your back knee, catch your foot either with your left hand, or if that feels really far away, you can loop a strap around that foot. And if you're a little bit more open already, you might even slide that foot into your elbow. Stretching through that quad. Keep your hips and chest pointing forward. You can take your right hand to the outside of your front knee, lifting your chest. And if this doesn't work for you, you can always take the same quad stretch by coming down onto your belly. So lying down and then taking that back leg in, once again with your hand or your strap. Take one more breath here. And slowly release your back foot down. Bring your hands forward and press back into your downward facing dog, taking a breath or two here. Notice the difference from side to side. On your next inhale, take your left leg up behind you, three-legged dog. Exhale, open your hip, bend your knee. Keep pressing down equally through both hands. Inhale, exhale, lizard lunge. Step that foot to the outside of your left hand. Let your hips sink forward and down. Inhale, reach your left arm up, easy twist. Exhale, release your left hand down, drop your back knee down to the mat, untuck your toes. Stay here, or option to open that knee out, maybe taking your left hand to your thigh for that twist. If you're in the twist, release your left hand down, and then we'll slide right into that pigeon pose. Once again, if pigeon doesn't work for you, find your figure 4 on your back. Lower your hips down. If you need to support your left hip, if it's floating off the mat, you can slide that block right underneath. Come onto your fingertips. Lift your chest, take a breath in. And with your exhale, come down either to your forearms, or make a little pillow with your hands, or extend your arms out in front of you. Drop your shoulders down away from your ears. And let go of any unnecessary tension. And slowly come back up onto your hands if you're in your pigeon. Bend your back knee, catch your foot with your hand or your strap, taking that foot in closer towards your glute. Maybe you slide it into your elbow if you're a little more open. Turn your chest and both hip bones to point forward. Once again, you can take this quad stretch on your belly instead, just coming down and bending your back knee, catching it with your hand or your strap. And slowly release your back foot. Bring your hands forward and press yourself up into your downward facing dog. Take 2 breaths here. Let your knees come down into your tabletop position. Once again, if your knees are sensitive, you can slide a blanket underneath, and we'll take it into a thread the needle. On your inhale, take your right arm up. Exhale, thread that arm underneath your left armpit, lowering your shoulder and right ear down to the mat. And either extend your left arm in front of you or wrap it around your back for a half bind. Take 3 deep breaths here. From here, keeping this twist, slide your hips back into child's pose, and then take both arms out to your left side, finding a side bend through your right side. Lower your forehead down towards the mat. Take 2 deep breaths here. On your next inhale, walk your hands forward and press back up into that tabletop position. Shoulders above wrists, hips above knees. On your inhale, take your left arm up. Exhale, thread it underneath your right armpit. Lower your left ear down, left shoulder comes down, and take your right arm out in front of you, or find your half bind, wrapping your arm around your back. Take 3 deep breaths here. And then slowly keeping this twist, slide your hips back over your heels for child's pose. Unwrap your arms, take them over to the right, finding your side bend through your left side. Take 2 breaths here. And when you're ready, slowly walk your hands back in front of you. Take 3 deep breaths here in your child's pose. Slowly begin to walk your hands in, bringing your spine upright. Roll over onto your side and swing your legs around to the front. We're going to come into Paschimottanasana. For this one, I recommend that you bring a blanket underneath your hips so that you can hinge at the waist, so that rather than having this sort of dumping in your lower back, you can take everything forward, coming into that forward fold. On your inhale, take your arms up, lengthen up through the crown of your head. With your exhale, stretch forward, releasing your hands down to wherever feels good, wherever you can keep the spine nice and lengthened. If you are a little bit more open here already and your hands are touching your feet, you might even take a block to the bottoms of your feet and grab onto that block. And on every inhale, lengthen your spine a little bit more. With your exhale, fold a little bit deeper. And slowly begin to walk your hands back in, bringing your spine upright. Open your legs out for a nice wide-legged forward fold. You can either stay on the blanket or remove it entirely. Once again, we want to keep the spine nice and flat. Bring your hands out in front of you, stretch up, take a breath in. And with your exhale, begin to walk your hands forward any amount that allows you to feel that stretch and keep the back nice and long. Keep your knees and toes pointing up towards the ceiling. Relax your shoulders and your neck. And slowly begin to walk your hands in, bringing your spine upright. Take your hands underneath your knees, bending your knees, draw your feet together. Then come into a seat. You can take your blanket off to the side. We won't be using that anymore. Scoot your hips forward and come down onto your back, drawing your knees into your chest. Take a breath or two here. And keep your right knee into your chest. Extend your left leg long in front of you, releasing your foot down to the mat. Guide your right knee across your body for a supine twist, extending your right arm out to your side. And try to keep both shoulders on the mat. If you'd like to continue stretching a little bit into the outer hip and that IT band, you might extend your right leg and take your left hand to your shin, ankle, or the outer edge of your foot. And then if you want to continue with a little bit of a quad stretch, you can bend your left knee and grab onto your foot with your right hand. Slowly release your feet or wherever you're holding on. Draw your knees back into your chest. Bring your spine into a neutral position. And extend your right leg long in front of you. Guide your left knee across your body, finding your supine twist or any variation that suits you today. So once again, you can extend your left leg and take your right hand to your shin, ankle, outer edge of that foot. And you might bend your right knee and catch your foot with your left hand. Once again, try to keep both shoulders on the mat wherever you are. Gently release your feet. Draw your knees back into your chest. Bring your spine back into a neutral position. And whenever you're ready, slide into your Shavasana, extending your legs out in front of you, arms by your side, palms pointing up. Let your whole body melt down into the mat. And taking this moment to integrate this practice. Gently begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Maybe take one more stretch up overhead. And then roll over onto your side, curling up into a fetal position. Slowly press yourself up into a comfortable seat. Pausing here for a moment to notice how your body feels in preparation for this hike. We'll close this practice with a breath together. Take a deep inhale. Exhale it out. Bring your hands to your third eye center, bringing gratitude to this practice. Namaste, my beautiful yogi friend. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful hike. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below, leave me your comments, and if you'd like to continue practicing together, please subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon so you can receive notifications whenever I put out a new class. I'm always open to your feedback and suggestions for what kind of class topics you're looking for. So again, please feel free to leave that in the comments below or reach out to me directly. Thanks again. Have a wonderful hike.